How you guys all doing today? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate all of you that are tuning in and subscribing and liking the videos. Thank you very much. Now let me cut right to the chase. I'm going to get off subject for 1 second. And if you couldn't tell, the last video just kind of cut off on me at the end. Was not planned. The phone keeps doing some funny stuff and shutting off. So I'm going to digress from that and get back on topic here. So the topic of the day is the idle screw has done the job for now for the purposes of holding the carburetor into its place, and the carburetor does pull in and pull out when you open and close the carburetor. So I just want to show you guys real quick. Off camera, I finished this up. I got the armature back onto the carburetor, and also we have the new idle screw in right now. But here's the problem I run into. The idle screw that I made, like I can take this out by hand and show you, but I'm just gonna leave it in there for now, is exactly the way it was in the last video when I made the idle screw. But the problem is I think that the part of the screw that I had left was not all of the screw. I believe that skinny part is actually much longer, maybe twice as long as it is right now, and the purpose of that idle screw is to hold the carburetor open a certain amount. And if I shine this flashlight into the carb here, you can see we have an opening, but the problem is when I go to hit the brakes on the remote, it closes the carburetor too much. So what's going to happen is when I'm driving this, if I apply the brakes, it's most likely going to shut off, because the skinny part of this screw needs to actually be much longer to hold that open. But the screw is serving the purpose of holding the carburetor in line where it's supposed to be. So I want to show you guys, this is just going to be a quick video of me showing you guys the car after all the repairs. The other problem I showed you guys is the amount of fuel and stuff that leaks out from the front of this engine is just crazy. So in the future, in order to run this whatsoever and not have to clean it every single time that we run it, which you should clean your rigs all the time, but this is going to be like getting excess fuel all over the place, and I don't want to run it right now because I'm planning on driving this at some point. And when I drive this, I don't want to have to run this, clean it, then run it, clean it, run it, clean it. So we're just going to drive it around the one time to try to get a decent tune on this carburetor here. So I don't want to like run it right now and then have to clean it up, and then, you know, you guys get what I'm saying. It's making a big mess. So I don't want to run it too much with this leaking the way it is. Now, at the end of the last video, I filled the engine up with brake clean, and I did that to try to get this brown colored varnish or whatever this is out of the engine. And yeah, so I filled the engine up with that, and when I came over here to try to spin this over, it was leaking the brake clean out of the engine. So I'm not sure if the brake cleaner has made it worse or whatever. But I'm just trying to explain to you guys what we got going on. So we have the engine. I took the brake clean out now. So now the brake clean is gone. And we have crazy amount of pinch on this engine. So the engine is cleaned out. I made sure it was emptied out. And when I did empty it out, it came out completely brown. Like very, very dark. You guys can see on the chassis some of the color of that, and on the top of the engine you see that the whole engine was full of that, and this engine runs. So now we have the carburetor at a point where I can at least run this around a little bit, and if I hit the brakes it may shut off, it may not shut off, but at the worst case scenario is I can get a longer screw at some point and try to hand make the idle screw once again, which is going to be even more difficult than it was this time, because the further that little skinny part gets, the harder it's going to be to keep the same shape going all the way around it, if you guys understand what I'm saying. Like, it's not easy to make a screw like that with the tools that I have. So yeah, we're kind of just like making it up as we go along, but that's the way the hobby goes when you're working on very old nitro RC cars. So this engine was very, very bad shape, guys. Very, very bad shape. Very horrible shape. And also I made a homemade kind of air filter for this, guys. You guys can go back and watch all the previous videos. You will see how bad this was. I know this doesn't look great. I kind of did it in a rush yesterday. So it's not perfect, but it's gonna get the job done. Doesn't look too bad on there, and I don't have any kind of different air filters to run right now. So I mean, I could always refine this and trim this down. For now, this is just made for the purposes of running this nitro car. So the last thing I wanted to show you guys was how the carburetor actually functions now that it's semi-fixed. This could be potentially 100% fixed with a good idle screw. So if anyone has a lead on one that might be for sale or something, let me know. So I currently was looking into the FS15 engine. Someone had left a comment. I don't know if it was FS. I have to look at the comments to get an exact name on it, but they said it was the same carburetor as is on here, and if I can get one of those, I can easily just swap them out. But the sucky part is the whole carb is not bad now that I took it apart and fixed it, but this hole is slightly bigger, and yeah, so the thread that this thing threads into is slightly bigger. So I might need a whole carb, but if I can make a screw, I don't need a whole carb. As of right now, to run this around, it's adequate enough to get us down the road and like do a few laps, maybe up and down the street or something. Nothing crazy, but it should be adequate enough that we can get an idea on the health of the engine. I know it runs, but will it stay running longer than a few seconds at a time is the question. And also, does anyone know what size bearings I need for the front of this engine? I might be able to find it in the instruction manual. I currently haven't looked yet. I haven't got that far ahead to plan that out, because I just wanted to get it functioning with the parts that we have and what we have to work with right now. So most of the time I like to get the, like that car, I like to get these running with what I have by putting the most, like you have to see that what you have is good before you continue to invest in it. So I'm not even looking at this part until I can get this fixed. And it's not like this is a modern day RC, so this is mostly gonna be a shelf queen anyway. Worst case is that it runs as it is, and you know, hopefully one day I can get a carb, and hopefully I can get a bearing for the front of this and stop this from leaking. But even if we got this to run good enough to run us around the parking lot for a while and not have it shut off every 5 seconds, that'd be good enough for me, where I can clean this back up and put it on my shelf. For the price I paid for it, it's perfectly fine. It's still worth way more than what I paid for it, as is, the way it is right now. It's still worth, it's actually probably worth more, because now it's actually running, and you can actually start it up and make sure that the mechanical part is working, whereas when I bought it I had no idea on the condition. So we definitely didn't hurt the value of anything by working on it, because it was totally wrecked as it was. The only thing that I do wish I didn't do was thread a different screw in here. So we have to learn these things as we go. This is like my third other, like the Rustler was one of my first old ones I got going. That was one of the first old ones I got going. So I'm learning these things as we go. So now I know a lot more about the idle screws, how, you know, you shouldn't, like, don't tighten them in. Don't, like, if this carb is locked up, just take it out right away. Put it to the side. Don't try to tighten it in. Don't do anything with it. So these are the things that I'm learning as we're going forward, because you don't want to break this, you don't want to damage this, you don't want to do anything bad with it. So these are this is the stuff that you learn as you go along, as you like really get into it. Like, I know about mechanical stuff, I know how to work on engines, all of that, but having to like apply my knowledge of full-size cars to these little engines, things are different, but they're the same but different. So now if I get another old nitro, I know not to damage this at all, to take this out immediately and then try to remove the slide, because now I know that this screw holds this in, which I knew that before. Because of the Tamiya, I found out that the tumbler, that the actual carb hole was upside down on that, and it wasn't being held in place by the idle screw, because the idle screw was too far out. So the idle screw on the Tamiya was not holding the carb in place. And when you it has a rotary carb just like this, and when you rotated the carb, it did not pull in and out. Now, if you guys are wondering what I'm talking about by pulling in and out, I will show you right now. We're going to fire up the vintage original remote that came with this, with the full-size antenna on it. This is the, let's see the name of this. This is the Duratrax. I think it's some kind of name. Yeah, it's a name brand remote for the Buddha. I don't know how to pronounce it exactly. You guys get the idea. This is the original remote. And the other day I pulled this out of the car. This is the original battery pack for this, and the batteries aren't all exploded or nothing, so that's a pretty good sign. But I can't connect my battery pack into this on and off switch. The on and off switch comes up here and turns into a 3-wire, My battery pack is actually a 3-wire, but it just goes down to 2. So we just bypass the on and off switch, and we plug this puppy right in here into the receiver. I'll get the light on here as soon as I plug this in. Okay, now you guys can see this goes through the on and off switch over here, which comes from this, which this battery pack has the skinnier one. My battery pack does not. So we just bypassed it because it turns into a 3. My battery pack has a 3, which is a AA battery pack down in there with the batteries taped into it. So you guys understand what we're doing. We just bypassed the switch for now. But check this out, guys. Running on rechargeable AA batteries. Look how adequate that steering is. Like, it's not the fastest thing in the world, but it's definitely not the slowest. It's for sure not the slowest steering I've ever seen. That's actually adequate for these huge monster truck tires that we got here. So I wanted to show you guys that the carburetor that we have right here, guys, check this out. Oh, do you guys see how the carb it goes, the carb pushes in and pulls out? If you watch it really closely, as it turns back and forth, this little bellow boot here, we're gonna call it, expands and contracts with the opening and closing, which is done by the screw that we made here. So I'm pretty excited that we got at least a semi-functional carburetor here. Now I wanted to show you guys there's still a little bit of gunk. That gunk just came out of there when I was pulling the string before the video. I wanted to show you guys really quick that in the carburetor, let me do this by holding the car down. I'll just get the flashlight. In the carburetor here, guys, you see the hole at the top there? Alright, when I push the brakes, watch what happens. You see how the hole kind of disappears for a second? So that screw, I cleaned the shit out of this and this stuff is still coming out. So there's a ton of this in there. But that hole disappears for a second when I put the brakes on. You can see the armature still moving. So that's when I hit the brakes. So in all likelihood, we're going to be controlling the idle on this from the remote until further notice, because we don't have an option of forcing this open with the screw. We don't have a long enough skinny part of a screw to put in there and push and keep this from closing all the way. So it's not really that big of a deal if you're doing what we're gonna do with this. If you was gonna use this every day as your daily nitro car and not keep it nice, not keep all of this stuff nice, then it would be a big deal, because you'd be going out and trying to be like kind of like a basher with this and jump this and run it around and race it, and then you're gonna want to hit the brakes real hard. It wouldn't be up to that right now, okay? But if let's say if you did get a screw or a carburetor and you fix this front leak on here, I'd say if we did those two things, there's no reason why you couldn't use this as your daily nitro car. Okay, that's how good a condition it's in. Like you'd be able to run this all the time, no problem, if we had the correct parts to fix this. So until we do get the correct parts, we are going to try to run it like this. We're going to try to run it at least once, like take it around and like just, you know, feel her out a little bit. We're not going to try to go real fast and then have to slam on the brakes, because then the engine is going to be turning off. So I just wanted to make this update video so I can show you guys that all of those hours of work weren't for nothing. So I'm going to shut this vintage equipment off here. Put this prehistoric antenna down. Put that back over there. So this is the original battery pack that came with this. Yeah, and pretty much we have a runner. But how much of a runner we have is only determined by the parts that we have. So we have what we have. We have a bad front seal, and we have a problem with the idle screw. So it's kind of one of those things. It is what it is. It's a learning experience for me. I wish that nothing did happen with this. I honestly don't think that I broke that idle screw, to be honest with you, because if I broke that idle screw, what happened to the rest of it? So what I think happened years ago, because this oil was here when I got this, there was oil here, and you guys seen in my very first video when I lift this up, there's this stain here on the chassis from oil leaking out of that front seal. So I think this truck had those two problems when I got it. So we just, if we want to make this a daily usable type of rig, all we would have to do is to locate a carburetor or an idle screw and hope it still fits. The carburetor would just take care of the whole problem. And then to take the flywheel off and dismantle the engine and replace those bearings, which seems like an awful lot of work for a very old car like this. But if I can get the parts, I can always break it down into videos and then post the videos, and you guys can watch the videos on how to do it. So it's not like it's impossible. It's just parts availability type of thing. Like carburetor, I'm able to find the whole engine with the carb I need on it, but I don't need a whole engine. But we'll see what happens. I'm kind of happy with it the way it is, because I don't plan on daily, like I don't plan on running this off-road ever. But other than that, I don't want to get it terribly dirty from driving it up and down the street and get all these springs and everything all kind of covered with stuff. So even if I'm able to drive it, whenever I feel like driving it, I could drive it. You know, it's not a problem. It's just very little problems. Like we got oil leaking out here, so I'm gonna have to clean it if I decide to drive this all the time. Every time I drive it, I'm gonna have to clean it again. So it's just little things like that. Is it really worth driving all the time? Because then you're gonna ruin the value of it if you decide to like drive this off-road and scratch this whole chassis up. It's not going to be worth as much as it would be if you just left it all nice. So there's the originality factor, where we can just leave it as it is and be happy with it as a very nice shelf queen. And we can run it this one time and see how she runs and try to get her to take a good tune on there, because I know now that the carb is in place, we'd be able to get a decent tune on there because the carb would be moving in and out like it's supposed to, unlike before where it was just kind of flopping around and landing wherever it wanted to land. So yeah, guys, I really appreciate you all watching, and I appreciate all you subscribing and the likes. If you're not subscribed, make sure you do subscribe, because I'm trying to make videos as much as I can, and you don't want to miss the videos if I come out with videos. So yeah, I plan on at least running this once as it is, because I got it to the point where we can run it as it is. It's probably going to make a mess because it's going to leak oil out, but we can run it as it is. I'm even going to run it on the original radio, even though it might take off, turn it to a runaway. We'll see what happens. Let's hope that doesn't happen. I really hope that doesn't happen. But I feel like the electronics aren't being glitchy or anything like that. So I feel like they're decent enough where how I'm going to run it, I'm not going to be going crazy with it trying to do donuts or nothing. Well, we'll see what happens. But I don't plan on getting aggressive with it. So if I'm not being aggressive with it, if it does turn into a low speed runaway, then I could always hopefully run up to it and catch it. All right, so that's where we're at, guys. So it is a runner, but we do have two problems. They're problems if you see them as problems. I see it as, I'm going to run this SOB anyway because I got this SOB running. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to pretend that there's not brown stuff coming out of the engine the whole time. And we're going to try to have fun. Because that's the whole point of the hobby, is to have fun and not be stressed out. It's supposed to be like a stress reliever kind of, because you're working on stuff. You're taking your mind off of other things. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to try to have fun with what we got. This is what we have. It's not perfect. I was hoping that the engine, let's say, wasn't leaking like the RS4's engine was. But the RS4's engine doesn't seem to have as much compression as this does. So you have, 50-50. What's better? You got a leak or you got compression? This is the gamble we take when we buy these old nitro cars. So until further notice, we're gonna run this car next time that I make a video. So hopefully very soon I will take this out and get a running video on there and upload it for all you guys. And make sure you guys hit the subscribe and the like button and stuff and everything, so that we can keep this going. Because I mean, I'm getting subscribers, I'm getting not very much likes, I think because my videos are so long, because I just do what needs to be done in the videos, and I don't want to have to edit it out and pretend that everything is fairy tales and roses when it's not. So I know there's people out there that love watching that kind of stuff, because I'm one of those people. So yeah, if you don't subscribe and stuff, then the channel doesn't grow and we don't make more content. But we're trying to make this channel bigger so that we can get more of these kinds of rigs. Even if we don't always buy nitros all the time, I'd like to get some electrics too, because electrics would be a lot more friendly for me to be running around right around my house. Like, we could just throw them right outside the shed door. We don't have to worry about noise or nothing. So that would be nice too. So I mean, the last purchase I made before I started before I bought this nitro, the last RC car I bought was the Arma. So yeah, I kind of got like I got out of the nitros for a second, and I bought an Arma. So I mean, there's each type of RC has its own place, I guess I could say. So you want to have fun running your nitros, and we want to have fun running our electrics. So I appreciate all you guys for tuning in. I planned on getting off about 10 minutes ago, but I keep on rambling. So here we are. Just wanted to get all the info out there to you guys, so you guys know that we are going to run this, even though it's not perfect. But I did want to get this update out there so that you guys who watched the end of the last video and were wondering what the heck just happened when it just shut off. It wasn't me, guy. It wasn't me. Trust me, I don't want to end videos like that. So with that being said, thank you all very much. I hope you all are enjoying the RC semi-restoration of this, just to get this running. And yeah, I will see you guys on the next video. Appreciate you all. Have a wonderful day or night.